Welcome back everyone, Season 2 is here, and today I'm going to be talking about delves with you because we've got a lot to learn. You may think you've got a hang of what delves are in a season from Season 1. It's just Great Vault, Coffer Keys, and a bit of Mythic Plus after that to top off your gear, job's done. No, this time round it's actually not that, because delves have changed fairly drastically in a whole bunch of ways. You ought to know what to expect and also how you can best make use of it. I'll start off by talking through the changes. So in Season 1, we only really needed to do up to Tier 8 delves for gear. Tier 9, 10, and 11, as Blizzard described them, were just challenge-only tiers, which in hindsight built a little bit of a fun pipeline that just dumped players into higher-level Mythic Plus to finish off their gear where they weren't ready. And it also wasn't the content they wanted to do, and that is the big change today. Now, every single tier of delves will be a part of your character's progress and gearing journey. There are many upshots of this. One of the big ones is the rewards table, so it's been shifted, meaning that at Tier 8, you will be earning slightly weaker gear. However, at Tier 9 and above, you'll be earning the same Hero 3 gear again. You'll also be earning crests that will boost up your Hero 1 gear, so you can keep upgrading that. And then at Tier 11, you'll be able to earn max rank crests to upgrade your gear even further than before, which basically means no more getting like half-cooked gear and feeling like you're pushed into Mythic Plus to finish off your gear set. And as you do those harder tiers, you'll actually get more crests as well, which again will kind of speed up some of your progress. And then, instead of your strongest gear only coming from the vault, Blizzard have taken the Delver's Bounty maps from Season 1, and they've made them finally make sense and not be a massive RNG headache. But the difference is, rather than pure RNG, you are guaranteed to get one within the first few delves that you do in a week. And it's also changed to trigger as a reward based on the delve that you finish after you use it. And what that basically means is you can then target the biggest reward you are capable of. So say you do a bunch of lower level delves, you maybe do them solo, right? Bountiful delves, and you get one of these. Well, what you could then do is ask your friends for a hand. You could go and do maybe a Tier 8, 9, 10, or 11 delve to try and get yourself a juicy bit of item level 649 hero gear. Now, another change this time around is the big boss is not Zekvir anymore. Zekvir is gone, and instead we've got the Underpin. The thing with him, though, is he was not available for testing, so we'll have to try him out later. But what does matter for us today is that his minions are in delves, so make sure to kill any goblin mini-bosses that you spot. The reason why is his Nemesis Strongbox at the end of each delve rewards you with more crests for each one of those goblin mini-bosses that you down. So you want to kill those mini-bosses. It's definitely good for our rewards, but of course do be wary. They are proper mini-bosses. They'll actually be a fight. Okay, so we've covered the changes. What's more important, though, is the gameplay flow, like what you'll actually be doing. Let's do that then. So, you will progress up your delves while you level Brann, unlock curios, get gear, and get familiar with things. That is the basic setup. Now, at the very start, all you need to do for your Great Vault is Tier 7s. That'll get you item level 649 hero gear. And, of course, soon you'll get a Delver's Bounty. When you get one of those, you want to push your way to doing a Tier 8 so that you can immediately get yourself a piece of eye level 649 gear. Now, to upgrade that gear, you'll need to work up to Tier 9 delves. That's where you will get runed crests, and of course you'll want those for your upgrades and stronger gear in the Great Vault. Now, these are farmable. They do have the usual seasonal cap though, and that does mean that you can get all of that item level 649 gear to Hero 3 before too long, actually. And once we got ourselves to that place, the next big step is Tier 11 delves. That's where clearing bountifuls will net you more ruined crests, like more quantity, so you'll actually get more bang for your buck time-wise, but also that's the final piece of the puzzle, gilded crests. They drop from those 11s, and you use gilded crests to take your gear from Hero 3 all the way up to Hero 6. Now, you'll be able to earn 31 of those each week, 21 from doing a few Tier 11s, and then a bonus 10 from the Delver's Bounty when that's done at a Tier 11 delve as well. Now, each upgrade costs 15 crests, so you'll basically get 2 upgrades a week in this way, which does mean that over time, you'll be able to get all of your hero gear all the way up to Hero 6, which basically means that gear is maxed out as good as it could ever be. Now, there is no catch-up system here, so basically, the faster that you start clearing 11s, the better. And with all of that in mind, here is what doing your delves in this season is going to look like. Okay, here's your mission. Option 1, the ultimate goal, the maximalist way of doing things, is to do 8 Tier 11 delves. This will fill up your Great Vault, it will get you gilded crests, it will of course allow you to spend your Delver's Bounty and spend your weekly runed coffer keys, all while getting you as many runed crests as is possible, allowing you to basically upgrade as fast as you can. This is a fantastic option, it's where we want to get to, but If doing 11s is too tough or just stressful to manage 8 of, you can do option 2 instead, and this still does get you pretty much all of the way there. First up, you will want to do 3 bountiful tier 11s in order to get your gilded crests and to spend 3 of your keys, right? And of course, you'll want to use your Delver's Bounty on one of those. After that, then just doing 5 tier 9s to fill up the Great Vault and spend your last coffer key would be the play. This will get you slightly less ruined crests, which does mean you'll get fewer upgrades, but it still does get you a shitload of progress, and you should feel pretty good if you're doing this. And while your upgrades will be a bit slower, your actual gear acquisition won't be. That's because bountiful keys max out at 8, which gives you 639 gear. But of course, the vault maxes out at 9, giving you 655 gear, which does sound like a little bit of nonsense, but it basically just means 9s are what you want to hit for the purpose of the Great Vault, to really have that be ideal. The only benefit to doing 11s past your weekly gilded crests is just getting more ruined crests, because the harder the delve is, the more ruined crests you will get, which basically means you shouldn't feel super rushed into doing loads of 11s right away. Don't smash your head into them if you're not really ready in your character. The huge thing for you to know is that the difficulty tuning has changed a little bit. Tiers that are in and about tier 8 are, by design, actually a fair bit easier than before, because it's designed to last all the way up to 11 now. The tuning is less aggressive, but otherwise delves do remain pretty much the same. The good news is all your Season 1 knowledge is still going to be important here. You will have to learn a whole bunch of new goblin variants of the existing delves, and there are 2 new delves, but in a way they're not your problem. They're actually Brann Bronzebeard's problem, because Brann can now be a tank. And as a tank, Brann does a huge number of things to just keep your run straightforward. So since he takes the brunt of the damage and the brunt of the debuffs, you basically get to see what is dangerous without having to eat those hits yourself, which is real good. And if you do suddenly get chunked, then there's no real confusion. You either stepped in something or the boss dropped some unavoidable damage. So if you're a healer or a DPS, running with tank Brann will often make your delves way more simple. Brann handles interrupts, dispels, he actually deals decent damage as a tank, and he's even got some ways to keep you alive. Once he's decently leveled, that is. Most of our testing was done with a Brann in his late 40s, like early 50s, levels-wise that is, and with that, he was able to survive most situations while we were just able to focus on doing more damage. And then even when Brann does fall over and die, his revive timer does act as a little bit of a safety net. If you've got any way to just run or survive the cooldown, then he'll basically just pop up right as rain and he'll get back to fighting. You could almost say the tank Brann is so good he breaks some parts of the system. I mean, if you run away really far, he will literally snap back to your position after he revives, which basically just means if Brann goes down, you can just book it and fully run away to complete safety, and well, he'll basically pop back up and save your ass. He's kind of like a party member with infinite battle reses that doesn't lose lives, just kind of good. Now, he does have a major flaw, and that is that he does not have self-sustain. That is where you'll get a little bit of a challenge if you're playing a DPS character. Tier 11s were fairly tough on PTR, where even with strong gear and a strong Brann, well, yeah, you could die, you could fail. But we did learn important things to share with you. Number 1, still interrupt, still do crowd control. Treat Brann like a fussy Mythic Plus tank who will leave if he notices that you're not stunning things. Basically, every bit of damage that he doesn't take will actually matter on tough packs. If you can keep Brann alive by CCing and interrupting, you will do way better. The second thing then is to take it slow and steady. Brann does not do well against real big packs of mobs. And that's quite simply because stacking dots will burn through his health and his shield breaks after he takes enough white hits. When you basically hear his last resort, which is him using his shotgun, his health bar is about to disappear. So if that happens, well, there's tip 3. Have an escape plan. Know what direction to run in, know what buttons that you can press to buy some time, be that your ice block, turtle, tar trap, blinding sleet, any of that to slow mobs down while you run. Basically, Brann's lives are expendable. Your lives are not expendable. The fourth big thing then is that in the new delves and the new variants, most enemies do have a way to hurt you even when Brann is doing the tanking. So still have your defensives and your health pots ready for some AoE slams, and if there's a line pointing towards you from an enemy, do run away. If you're ranged, I guess just stay at max range while you can. The The fifth tip then is to absolutely bring all of your tools and use them. As an example, the new boss of Side Street Sluice has got an Enrage that massively boosts his damage and gives him a real stupidly big shield. If you're on, say, a tier 10 or tier 11, that'll be a problem. So not noticing things like that or not taking talents that could help will easily make some of those fights next to impossible. Now, of course, as a healer, it's a completely different story, because if you're a healer with Tank Brann, Brann's damage will scale with recent healing taken, and his healing taken scales, of course, with health as he levels up, which basically means if you learn how to pump your single target heals into Brann, he basically becomes nigh unkillable and does stupidly big amounts of damage. As an example, tier 11s with a tricked out Brann just dumping heals on him were almost effortless. As long as you're keeping your Brann at full HP, he will just tear through anything in his way. So yeah, if you're a healer, Tank Brann really is amazing. Now, if you play a tank and you're comfortable, Brann is still good as a DPS and a healer as he was before, so carry on as normal. But if you do find that you can't handle going up the tiers too fast, do try swapping roles with Brann and allowing him to tank, because yeah, we've just found he's a real good tank and he can help you progress. Okay, we've covered strategy and tactics. Next thing is builds. So the curios this time around are actually completely different, and you'll be earning these by randomly finishing delves. Now, we did not get a huge amount of testing done with these, but we have found a few favorite curios that basically, as soon as we plugged them in, made life way easier. So let's do them. If you're DPS with Tank Brann, run the Mechazor Easy Build Kit. It is class. Basically, zero effort, but importantly, the taunting Mechazors, those just help to take a lot of the damage away from Brann, and that's basically, like Brann dying, that is going to be your biggest source of failing in the higher delves, which makes that curio pretty damn amazing. Now, if you're a healer, run the Pinged Augment chip. It grants a huge boost to Brann's survivability and power, but with a tiny downside, you will need to dispel him whenever one of the bombs runs at him. So as long as you can do that dispel, like, it's great. It's amazing. It is insanely worth it compared to other curios that you could take. But all that said, I'd still only recommend taking it if you are a healer. It's real tempting, right, to take it if you're, say, playing DPS, but when we took it as DPS, it turned out to be real frustrating, because then you need to use your damage on the bombs instead. They've got quite a lot of health, so for a healer, they just chuck a dispel on it and they're done. For a DPS player, it's not really worth it. Okay, for our next slot then, we've got two amazing choices. The 3-dimensional bioprinter was real strong in our testing. Just elite creatures and bosses were the real challenge, so summoning in copies of them right when you need them is honestly kind of huge. It's really good. You could also, if you want though, just run the pacifist rig to literally pilot a mech, which, yes, it's a little bit gimmicky, but it's actually quite fun. It's pretty damn strong as well. So try it, give it a go, but generally speaking, I think the bioprinter is a real safe shot. Now, if you're nuking through the low-level delves real quickly, what you can do is swap those out for the biofuel rocket gear, which will give you a massive stacking move speed and haste buff, which is pretty sweet as well. With those build options, and especially with Tank Brann, you should be fully equipped and ready for delves. They really do make things smooth. I would certainly say do try out Tank Brann. Like, if you were just using like DPS or healer Brann before, it's worth giving Tank a go. He just makes things so smooth. If you're a dipshit DPS like me and you just want to go burr, it really does work for that. The next big thing, of course, will be the underpin whenever he is live. When he is, we will do real world testing. There will be a full guide. If you want to watch something next though, we've got some pretty spicy news. There's lots of immediate gearing and renowned stuff, as well as Blizzard auras. Yes, Blizzard are taking on weak auras. You can find out about all of that in our latest news episode.